Hi, this is Pedram Ra. First Petty P, then Pedram Ra. And after Pedram Ra, Ped Ra Ra. And so I was right about to go into the shower, and an influx of emotions came into my heart. And so I knew once I take a shower, it's gonna clear it all out. So I didn't want to let it go without having properly paid attention to that which had been presented me. So I want to know, what do you want to know, Petty P, Pedram Ra, Ped Ra Ra? Well, I want to know what it means to have this true hearts connection. What does it mean? Well, Pedram Ra, Petty P, Pedram Ra, Pedra Ra. That sounds so far. It sounds like what you just said sounded like a shofar. Like putting on a show that's going so far, but we'll call it a shofar, and it's just going so far. And so what this means is, I'm hearing all these like shofars, like going so far. And I didn't have to set it up. I didn't have to go pay whoever just blew those horns for me. I'm just chilling right here at home. I'm just going about business as usual. And my business is me. So, like if you look and read and study like the biographies, autobiographies, and whatever else that's been written or talked about or examined about the very best businessmen, the very best businessmen that have ever lived. And you ask them, and you're able to meet them. And you ask them, listen, number one, businessman. Because back in the day, women were not businesswomen. Or even if they were not as good of business peoples than businessmen. But I believe they're way ahead of the game now. They're way ahead of their game. Like everybody has their own game that they're playing. And it's like that game is being played by whoever's playing that game, which is everyone. And that game that everyone is playing, they're playing it mainly dually with themselves. Because that's what I noticed. That's what I came to realize about what it is that I'm doing. I came to realize that everything that I say and do and say and experience. And I don't know how to say that backwards, but so please excuse me. But like it's I always like to go from the beginning to the end, and then from the end back to the beginning. So I have the totality of what it is that I'm expressing upon me first, and then you next. And then I'm able to step out of that experience and re-examine what just took place between me and you and me, but from like the third party point of view. The third party. Like I don't remember my 3-year-old birthday party, but I'm sure I had one. And it's like I had one of those 3-year-old birthday parties in every aspect of this process, and which is within time. Like see, like I have a watch, a G-Shock protection watch, and this G-Shock protection watch allows me to look at it whenever I'm alerted to look at it, by however it may be possible that I have been alerted to look at it and notice what time it is. Because obviously we need that. I need that, because if I don't know what time it is, I'll never make it on time to my many different appointments, and other people want to meet me as I do want to meet them. And so this process is another dual relationship, if it's just me and one other person. But if it's like me and multiplicity of others, then I'm sure that has another name. And I just don't want to spend the time right now, because time is valuable. They say time is money, right? Because that's what business people say, right? The very best of the art of business has had a certain form of tact ingrained within them, and that tact enabled them to maneuver through all these different experiences that life will present us and still be a finisher. Finish what they have started, which is their aim. And I wonder if aim is like a masculine word. Like maybe a feminine word for the word aim could be Amy. I don't know. But then again, my nickname has always been Petty. So but does that make me feminine? And then I, believe it or not, I went to this rehab. I made it to its very heights and the best that I could have been in that rehab. And then this rehab was having a form of telethon where they were presenting others with a show, like show far, like there was a show that enabled people to go so far. And that show was amazing, and they actually had me work. I hadn't worked for so many years before that, and so they were so kind to take me under their wings and show me the way, like reignite the fire within my belly, like pow, 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 the fire's on, and then the fire is on, and believe it or not, I end up being the number one highest contribution collector on one phone call, on a single phone call, and that was amazing. And then, I mean, this was a Jewish rehab, so like there were all these like rabbis there, and then and I'd never been around them for so long ever at like one point in my entire life. You know, I was never that religious. You know, I just like celebrated like the main Jewish holidays like every other regular Israelite, you know? But these rabbis were like the ones that actually like spent all day long and all night long and all day week long and all year long, month long, year long, month long, year long, year long, month long, and then year after year. And that's just their tradition, you know? Like we all have traditions, you know? And that was not my tradition. So I initially was not comfortable being around them because they were different. You know, like, you know, they talked differently than me, they behaved differently than me, they did this and that and the other differently than me. But believe it or not, before you know it, I'm wearing like a yarmulke, a kippah, I used to call it, and so all this stuff was taking place, and then I'm now at the best of my beingness at this rehab, this Jewish rehab, and so they invite, and maybe bestow. I don't know like how you want to name it. I think it's all of the above, but they tell me, yeah, Pedram, and that over there they called me Pedram. They actually called me by my Hebrew name, which is Rachamim Shalom Ben Meir, which means peace and mercy, the son of the light. And so, but like they didn't say that in English. They said it in Hebrew, and they didn't always say the whole thing. You know, they always said like parts of it. Sometimes they said the end of it. Sometimes they said the beginning of it. Sometimes they said the beginning to the middle of it. You know, like I didn't really understand what it is they were saying because these people made no sense. You know, but you know, believe it or not, being around them, I for some odd reason was drawn to like learn from them. You know, and I don't even know why I wanted to learn from these people. I don't know what they had, what they didn't have, what not what, and so I had no clue. But I ended up going, and I'm working on this telethon because I had gone to this telethon like a few years before because I was at this rehab for a very long time, like approximately 6 years. You know, it was like a 6-month program, believe it or not, and I ended up staying in the main program for 9 months, and then they had a sober living right next door, and so I end up going to this sober living, but they said, well, we're not going to let you in, Pedram. The director just called me Pedram. You know, she didn't call me by the Hebrew names. And then, amazing person. From all of them were amazing people, you know. Like, but at that time, I didn't understand that, you know, because at that time I didn't have the capacity to evaluate my own understandings of me. Remember, it's all about me. It's me. For me, it's all about me first, before it could be about anyone or anything else outside of me. So I go about this process, and then she tells me, well, you know, Pedra, you know, I've had many different issues with her, you know, like there were a lot of times she called the police on me, and like the police came to take me from there and like lock me up again, and it really shook me up, you know. I was like, you know, I have this right now and I'm about to get locked up again, and this was very draining, and it totally like scared the lights out of me. So like when the police officer, sheriff, or like whoever it was that was there, like all my business skills, like totally like drained back inside me, and like things I hadn't even thought about in like years. So I start telling the officer or the sheriff, I'm like, hey, so please, can we go speak inside her office right here and see like what's going on and what we're talking about and stuff and that, the other, this and that. And he says yes, and then she says, yeah, please go on in. And then we go in, and then I explain to them. I tell them, listen, this is the best thing I've had within my life in so many years now, you know? And I really am sorry. I really didn't mean to do this. And then what did I do? A psychiatrist of mine had changed the pills of what I was taking, of whatever medication, and made the pill. I used to get like 100 like milligram pills. I would take 2 in the morning and then 2 at night. And then this doctor changes the pills from 100 pills to 200 pills, 200 milligram pills, without telling me. So I get the medication as always, and I take 2 in the morning and I take 2 at night. Now 400 milligrams was the highest level of this medication that you were supposed to be taking. That's like good for you. And so I'm actually taking double the maximum recommended dose. And this medication, believe it or not, makes you high. You know, like it gets people high. I guess certain people taking it like abuse it and then they get high. And being in a rehab, I'm in a place surrounded by all these people who have abused, including me, abused their rights to be free. So that's why we had to be in rehabs. And I'm inside of a rehab, inside this Jewish rehab, and then this and that and the other, and I drive everybody nuts. Because I didn't know I'm high. You know, I had no clue. You know, I had no idea that I'm taking double the maximum dose of this medication. And so I had no idea. I was just being me, you know, I was just being me. Me. But then me at that point was a totally different me than right now. It was totally different. Because right now I'm fully grounded. Right? I'm fully grounded and I have full control in what it is that I'm telling you. Even though I don't know what it is I'm going to be telling you. You know, it's just coming out of me. It's flowing through me. And so this is the way my life is. You know, it just happens synchronistically. So this happens, that happens, the other happens, and I further convince this like officer, this sheriff, I don't remember which agency, but they're all amazing because I've had to come across them many times, you know, and like for the most part, every single time I kind of got locked up afterwards, you know, so because I was not grounded, you know, I was not grounded, and they're trained to do their jobs right, you know. They're not gonna just like this agency, whichever agency of law enforcement, is not going to hire people that are not adept to doing the best that they're able to do in order for them to serve mankind, the public. So they were fully trained. And they realized, they said, okay, listen, we're giving this lady, the director of this Jewish rehab, a business card in front of her. We walked towards her, and then he's like, yeah, miss, no, ma'am, here's the card. If Pedram does anything of the same or similar nature, just give us a call. We'll come and get him. We'll take him out of here. And then I was so grateful. I'm like, thank you. I love you guys. I'm so grateful. And so In that same rehab, a few years later, I'm still there. I'm doing all this stuff. Like they wouldn't let me go into the sober living part because they couldn't trust me being on my own. So, believe it or not, there was this rabbi there, and this rabbi said, I have my own room here. I'm one of the rabbis, and if you want, like I don't know how this happened. I don't know how it was coordinated, but it was coordinated, and so I ended up living with him in his room number 20. So we're in room 20, and then so I'm hanging out with this guy, with this rabbi, like all the time, and this and that and the other, and then believe it or not, we like do a lot of great things. We start going to like yoga together. We go to this like yoga called Bikram yoga. It's a hot yoga, very hot yoga, and